In our mid-level leadership role, we often are finding ourselves literally in the middle. Organizational strategies, teams that we are overseeing, being the bridge, making the connection. Sometimes we're asked to find ways that we can generate action that is purposeful and meaningful to the organizational goals. But how can we do that within our role and spaces? What things can we ask or what can we generate to make sure that our teams are aligned and executing on the task at hand for the organizational strategies? Well, in this Shift Your Lens episode, we're going to dive into 4 questions that you can ask yourself and ask your team to make sure that the work that they're doing is aligned and purposeful to the actions and the goals of the organization. Let's get into it. Welcome to Shift Your Lens. My name is Ray White, organizational development consultant, leadership development, and the head writer of the Leader's Lens. I am excited in this episode because we get to talk a bit about what we can do in our middle management to help align the staff to the organizational goals that we have. There is this huge misconception that leaders that are in the middle, those are directors, managers, supervisors, leads in what shape or form, are just literally micromanagers. They are pushing pencils, maybe looking at reports, looking over the shoulders of staff, or maybe checking their teams to see if they're even online, and just ensuring that the work gets done, which there's some aspect of that is true. But we have a real key and a pivotal role within our current context as middle managers to drive strategy forward through our influence, through the way that we lead. So there'll probably be a greater conversation about how the generations over time have changed in the way that we've seen leadership today from the past. But right now, we are in a moment where we do have a role in driving purposeful action through our leadership. But how do we do that? Especially if you're a leader who has not been in that type of position or experience on the other end where you've had a manager working to drive purposeful action through you for you, but might seem a little bit punitive or might seem a little bit not aligned or or may seem like they were micromanaging you. Or on the flip side, you're now in that position where you are driving that particular strategic change or initiative, but sometimes your staff may be looking at a role or doing an action and not seeing the direct correlation between what they're doing today to the organizational strategies down the road. So let's bridge that gap through your leadership. First and foremost, we got to be able to have identified terms, right? We got to make sure we're on the same page of what we're talking about. When we talk about generating purposeful action, what I mean is that we're just ensuring that our teams and ourselves are aligned in the work and the tactics that we're working on. We're working to drive our work towards the strategic outcome. Because nobody wants to just do busy work, right? Busy work is not really doing anything. And our teams can sniff that out really well, especially if we're giving them a task and they don't see on the other side through the fog why this task is important to the overall end goal. They'll stop doing it. They will no longer be motivated or encouraged to take over that action because either us and our leadership haven't given clear expectations of what the work should look like, or we haven't showcased how this task relates to the bigger picture. I've had a conversation with my son recently about a puzzle piece. He's big into puzzles. He likes to construct things together and make a big puzzle. And I was relating that to his basketball skill sets and like him being on a team, and that each puzzle has a unique role in the greater picture. And sometimes we may not understand how this one piece or our skill set or identity, play or action on the team is going to relate to or impact the bigger picture or what we're trying to go towards on the court. But if we understand our uniqueness and understand that we have a role on the team, and the coach can clearly communicate why that's important and valuable, we then get to own it and we get to see it and we fit within the bigger picture of the team and the goal. This works really well the same way as we should see our teams and we should see the work that we do. So we all have a particular role and position in our teams, and the work that we do is not busy at all. Some of us may have the great opportunity in our middle management to set strategic direction or to help shape that strategic direction and provide that kind of clarity for our teams. And like I stated before, there are 4 questions that we can work to generate and ask our teams to help get them in that mode and see the value of their work and how it ties to the greater organizational strategy for our team, department, or organization. First question that we have to ask for clarity is, what are the goals that we're striving towards? This is providing that clear destination of where we are going and where we are headed. If we don't know where we're going, then any direction is the right direction. Any direction is a good direction. And I think Alice in Wonderland said that, right? Or the Cheshire Cat. If we know clearly what the end result looks like, we could chart a great path towards that. And you as a leader are helping clarify what that goal is. Here's an example. I'm currently working on a new initiative that is helping bridge college students to real career opportunities within the community. And it's called Teamworks Initiative. And right now I'm working with my alma mater's Master's of Business Administration program. And these MBA students are helping me set that strategy. We've already had a couple of meetings already. And one of the questions they asked was like, hey, this is a great idea, but what's the MVP? What's the minimal viable product that we are striving towards? So like at the end of the road, where are we going? And it made me realize that while I've talked about how great the idea and the process is, it's good from a macro perspective, but they needed to see like a micro within this particular time frame, 3 to 6 months or 12 to 18 months. What does success look like? What is the end goal? Because in their tenure or in their education, that's pretty much all the time they have, right? Like they got a lot of other things going on. They're trying to graduate. They got other extracurricular activities, sports, other classes, all the things. And this is just one side project that they're helping me develop, but they need to see the end goal. I see this also play out in my day-to-day work when I'm working as a healthcare IT supervisor. The projects that come across our plate are sometimes just a line item within a subject line in an email, but they don't know clearly. Like sometimes it's the work that comes in, we don't have a definition of done or what success looks like. So I really need to do my very best in my communication or finding the answer to say, this is what the end goal that we're striving towards, and we are going to march towards that direction. So be able to ask yourself, what is that goal? What are you striving towards? Clearly identify that. Helps give people a clear destination to where they can set their sights on and start walking in that direction. The second thing is actually what was already iterated. What does success look like? So back to my example with the MBA students, not only they need to know what at the end of the 18 months, this is what we're creating. We're launching a program that is going to help connect college students to career opportunities in the community. That is the end goal. That's the destination. But what does the success look like? Does success mean we're going to be engaging with 100 organizations or 100 place students? Does it mean that we are going to find funding that's going to help generate the cost of living and as a stipend or supplement for these students to be a part of? Like what does success look like? At the end of the day, what are we going to hang our hat on is going to feel good. And that is the measurable outcomes. That could be the measurable outcomes. That could be the key performance indicators of what what the end goal should look like. And sometimes where I know I get hung up on is I set this big lofty goal and big lofty outcome that we were trying to reach. And sometimes that could be a little bit disheartening. And I can imagine as an individual contributor on the team, if I was receiving this humongous goal and this big vision and what the major number is going to look like, I love the ambition, but sometimes that ambition can be demoralizing because you won't be able to see the growth of your progress, or at least it's harder to see the growth of your progress if you're trying to get to 100 and you know that between now and 3 weeks from now, you can only get 50, right? Or get 25 or whatever that number is. What we should do in defining what success looks like is not only set that outcome, make it measurable for us to look at a particular number, but also be realistic. What can we really accomplish within this team? What can we really accomplish within our day-to-day and the current capacity that we have? Does it make sense for us to try to shoot for the moon right now or build up the foundation and the momentum so that we can get the structure in place and see the incremental growth, because psychologically that helps in momentum, that helps in buy-in, that helps in encouragement, that helps in these things, because people feel good when they see progress. So what is that measurable outcome that's going to help drive towards that progress to the clear destination that we've set? And helping define what that definition of done looks like and definition of success can help people know, okay, this particular work has to relate to that measurable outcome. And the more I chip away at it, the greater I will see us getting closer and closer to that end goal, because we know where we're going and we know what's going to take to get there from a successful perspective. Which actually leads to the third question. What are the process, metrics, and tactics that will lead us to that outcome? So we've identified where we're going. We know what success looks like. Now we need to identify lead metrics and lag metrics that are going to let us know whether we're on the right track. Let's go back to the teamworks idea, right? So so the process metrics are really important, because it shows that if we put this level of effort, then we should see this particular outcome. You get out what you put in, right? So if we look at teamworks, if the group is saying, we know we need to have stakeholder conversations to understand what the students and our community partners are looking for. If we hold 5 meetings over the course of 3 days with these particular partners, then we'll be able to have the data points to understand what these organizations or students are looking for. Like that level of process, so they know we can control these meetings. We can control these conversations. We can't control what they say, or we can't control what they're looking for right now, but we can control the conversation and hold the space and hold the environment. That is a good process metric to kind of indicate us to get to the end goal of success, looking like a clear, being able to place students with 5 students in 3 organizations to the end goal of connecting college students to career opportunities in the community, right? Like you can kind of see the layers here, but each group are able to know that their effort and their tactics of having these dialogues, having these conversations, and cataloging that information through a formulaic way is progressing towards the MVP and success points of placing 5 students in 3 organizations to that end goal of what Teamworks is all about and what we want to see in 18 months. So the how is what is truly important here. How will you execute this? How will you meet that measurable goal? And taking a step back to really assess whether or not the work that you're currently doing is, if you have metrics that indicate what it would take to meet that, if you have process metrics to indicate what that outcome is going to look like, and the tactics really reach to that process metric. Because sometimes we're just doing work just to do work. And that's where we can say we're doing busy work. We don't need to update that piece of paper right now, or that memo. We don't need to update that spreadsheet. Like that's important, but that's like C or D level work, right? We need to be putting our efforts on A and B work, like those high leverage tactics and priorities and efforts that are going to meet that process metric, that's going to meet that outcome metric towards that end goal. So understanding the how and identifying the how through your leadership can help the staff see whether or not the work that they're currently doing is going to meet that end goal or not. And then lastly, the last question that we want to ask is, does the team know and have the capacity to execute based on the tactics and timelines? We can set the big goal. We can set what the outcome looks like. We can let them know this is the process and the tactics to execute that. But they could be like, cool, that sounds great, but I ain't got time. Like, do you know how many other projects I got working on? Or do you know how many other classes I'm working in? Or do you know that I'm on vacation or what have you, right? Like, do they understand, or are they equipped to execute those things? For us as middle managers, we have to check whether or not our team is ready and able to take on the work necessary. And that could mean, do they have the time to do it? Do they have the resources to do it? Do they have the priorities reorganized to do it? Is the mindset ready to do it? These are highly intentional questions to assess whether your team is ready to go to take on this task. And while it'd be great, you might have 3 of these key questions identified and ready to go, but if the team ain't ready, then none of it will work and everything will fall to the wayside. And not that you have to plan for any mishap or misstep, but having the barriers and guardrails or being able to know what readiness looks like can help align the team to know if I run into an issue, I know where to go. I know how to escalate the problem. If I see myself dipping in work or task or towards this project that I've been focusing on because I have other competing priorities, how do I navigate that? How do I have that conversation? You as a leader can help set up the structure in the environment to make sure that they're ready by knowing what's going on in their world, knowing the capacity that they have, and setting clear timelines so they know what to expect and milestones to what to expect to have those deliverables accomplished. So if we go back to teamworks, we need to have these conversations with students and community members in our area, and that conversation will lead to us understanding what they need and can help set up the program that we want to see to get placed 3 to 5 students in 2 to 3 programs for the end goal of connecting college students to career opportunities in the community. Once we identify that, now we have to look back and say, okay, based upon a 3-week timeline, what could we truly accomplish? How do we fit this in what we currently have? What needs to be taken away? What needs to be put more emphasis and attention on? And is that even reasonable? Can we get that done in that time frame? And once we get clarity on those things, then we can say, all right, ready, break. Let's execute. We know what we need to do. We know how we need to do it. We know how long we need it takes to do it. Then we can then look back and say, we are on track to meet that end goal, to where in 12 months we know we've done the work necessary to get us to that point, right? And these are just in a microcosm, one way that can help accelerate the alignment and make sure the actions are purposeful within your team. And let's say you have a team of 6 and everybody's aware of the clear destination and the clear outcomes, but you might want to delegate or parse out, okay, these 2 teams are going to focus on this element, right? Identifying the process, metrics, and tactics related to this process. While team 2 is focused on something else, team 3 and team 4 is focused on something else. So everybody has something to do. Again, part of that puzzle piece to fit to the greater goal. And then you can come back as a larger group, have your huddles, have your team check-ins or whatnot to say, okay, hey, give me a status update, give me your status report. What's your process metric? What's your tactics? What barriers do you have? So on and so forth. And then you as a leader are pretty much holding those environments and places together and helping be that filter to identify whether or not the work that they're focusing on from a process and tactic perspective is going to align to the outcome and the clear goal. And that is a great position for you to be in, because then you'll be able to help course correct or step in or just step back and be like, hey, you guys got it. You're doing what you need to do. Let me know if you need anything. And the more that you provide that level of autonomy and opportunities for them to take ownership of those spaces, the greater buy-in you will receive, the greater engagement that you will feel. And they will then see how their work is contributing to the greater goal, because you're the one helping define and creating that space. So what's the goal that you're striving towards? What's success look like? What is the process, metrics, and tactics? And is your team ready to take those on based upon the tactics and timelines and capacity to execute that? Are the 4 questions that are valuable for you to help identify, understand. And once you get that clarity, the great thing that I love to do is I flip the question back on them, right? I ask the team these questions as well, because sometimes in my hat or my seat or my lens, I may think, this is the goal, this is the outcome, this is the metrics, and these are the tactics, and you're ready. But they may say something else like, hey, actually, what we're seeing here, we need to change the way that we approach our conversations with these stakeholders, and we need to change the way that we're reviewing the product because it is not meeting the greater outcome, right? And that is where that you creating that environment where that dialogue is occurring, so everybody's on the same page of alignment and voices are encouraged to speak into it, right? You're creating that environment for inclusive conversations. You create that environment for transparency, for ownership, for accountability of the work. And what I've witnessed in my conversations of creating that space and asking these questions to them is that they get to speak into what those strategies are. That increases the alignment. That increases the connection points. The more that we create those environments, the more their employee experience will increase. And we want that level of engagement within our leadership, within our teams. And that's what creates those high performing teams when you are not just telling them what to do, but inviting them into the discussion to help shape what we do together. And we know that there'll be some non-negotiables. We know there are some areas that are just hard nosed and boundaries that we can't touch and we should not cross. But once that is established, we understand you're creating the playground for everybody to engage with and utilizing their own gifts, talents, and strengths, putting them in positions to be successful. And that is how you gain that buy-in and see people become really great in their actions, and they can see the purpose and meaning of their work because they're part of the conversation helping shape that moving Ask forward. These 4 questions, and I want to ask you, which one of these 4 questions do you find you struggle with? Which one is really difficult for you to help contextualize and shape for your team to take action? I would love to help you out with that. Let me know by dropping that in the comments or subscribing to the Leaders Lens newsletter, following this channel, follow me on social media, @RayDevante. I would love to hear from you all as well. If you like these Shift Your Lens episodes, share this with a friend. And if you want a particular topic in leadership that you find struggling for you, or you just want to share on this channel, let me know. Drop that in the chat as well, and we can create space for that dialogue too. Continue to lead well from the middle out, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.